Okay. So good evening, everyone. Larissa Thera here. I how do I say this? Like I've been feeling like so much is shifting and changing. And I wanted to just take an opportunity to get together and chat about, the new earth shift that we're experiencing that's ongoing. And then, we can see what kind of comes in if we want to do a little bit of a healing session together, a little meditation, something like that. So, um, I don't know about you guys, but I have been on a roller coaster ride the last couple of weeks. Um, Particularly for me, it really kicked off. Like I kind of went through, and I kind of am holding space to not label it per se, but just to kind of give you the character of what I was experiencing. I basically went through another like dark night of the soul or ego death experience for the past like week and a half. I just came out of it about like less than a week ago. So it was very, very challenging. And on top of it, I had this head cold, which seemed to be kind of it's interesting. It's kind of, I've had one of these hangups where I've wanted to define things as either being spiritual or physical, right? And I'm really coming to realize that there's no difference. Like, like that it's all the same. It's all part of our human experience, which is it's the spirit, mind, and body all integrated. So with that head cold, it was causing me to really, it was like kind of like a head spin, you know what I mean? And so I was receiving all sorts of information and not necessarily like divinely guided information. It was just information coming in from the outside and then trying to sort it, and I knew I wasn't supposed to try that hard to sort it because I'd been receiving messages like for at least a month prior, like don't hang on to anything that's coming in July. Let it go, let it go, let it go. So like just be there, just be there. And being a human and being somebody who's kind of brain oriented, I like was still kind of having to, you kind of take a dip and then you go, wait a minute, I'm overthinking this. So for myself, it's just been this hugely transformative period the past week or so. And I definitely would love to hear more about other people's experiences. And then I think a couple of things that I really wanted to talk about were, you know, and something that was kind of, I want to say how it was coming through, and I'm trying to think of how to explain it really. I think that in the spiritual community, we get kind of hung up on, divine timing is definitely a thing. But I think we get hung up on like things need to look a certain way or unfold a certain way. And that's probably not true. Like yes, divine timing is really important. And that's definitely part of what we're doing. But for the most part, what I feel like is we are the creators of the new earth. We're not waiting for someone else to bring it. We are here to do it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling that in my solar plexus like big time. We are here to create the new earth. So anything that you feel inspired to do or a way to live, that's what you're here to bring. We're not waiting on a savior, right? Like that's like, and I know that's not generally how the spiritual community looks at it, but like that's not what this is about. And so you can at any moment decide or start, and we already are. I don't want to dismiss any of the efforts we're already making, but like we can choose to start living in that new higher vibration, that in that place where we want to be. That's up to us, and we can let go of a lot of the other things that kind of hold us in that lower frequency, lower vibration in the old paradigm. So and this is not to say, believe me, of all people, I am not a love and light only person. Like that's like definitely not what I'm talking about. It's just more like, what projects bring light to our hearts? What projects bring light to our souls? How do we want to be with other people? and how do we want to treat other people and all of that sort of stuff, and what kind of communities do we want to live in. All, do we really want to let other people or old rules dictate who we are? I'll give a good example, I think, too. I practice law as well as do this fun stuff. And earlier on in my practice, I really felt pressure to practice the way other people practice. Like it was like, oh, I need to be a shark. Oh, I need to be aggressive. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do that. And a friend of mine pointed out to me, like, she's like, what if that's not what you're supposed to do? What if you're supposed to do it how you do it? Like, what if you can let all of that go? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, we are, and actually, when I do private consultations with people, oftentimes, they'll be interested in one area of spirituality or another, and they'll be talking about this, that, or the other thing, like something that they're really into. And what I will receive very clearly is like, I give back the guidance, like, you're supposed to do this a new way. It's okay that you don't know what it is yet, but you're like, the old rules, this has been the theme for me for a long time. The old rules don't apply. So it's like, like I take some examples of, let's just take like, for example, if you were practicing witchcraft or something, and I don't want to pick on anything in particular, and I'm definitely not a witchcraft expert, right? But like, there are, rituals and stuff like that. And if you love rituals, go for it. But if you're a person like me who goes, rituals, I don't know, like I don't feel like I need rituals. I just go through and do what feels right for me. So like, if that's where you're feeling guided and where you feel pulled, that's you expressing your unique soul imprint. Like that's your vibration. So that's what I kind of wanted to talk about, is like, we can let go of the rules. And I had a couple other interesting experiences come up, and this is kind of in the same vein, right? Like, I've often questioned myself, like, oh gosh, you do the spiritual guilt, right? Like, oh, I don't meditate enough. Oh, I don't follow this. Oh, I don't do that. Like, oh, and a couple of people who I really enjoy working with, they're like, well, sometimes you meditate in the shower, like, like not meditate in the shower, but you like receive information in the shower, you receive information while you're gardening, you do this, like, and I myself, like, I'll drift off and astral travel while I'm in between dreams. Like, I'll wake up and I'll just astral travel, or same thing, I'll be in the shower and I'll astral travel, or I'll get, I'll get visitors or something coming and chatting with me, or I'll get divine guidance or whatever. And so like, I'm receiving it without having to sit down and make the time to meditate. And meditating is great. It's a wonderful tool. I definitely am not saying don't meditate. What I'm really talking about is, you are doing everything great. Like that's really like picking up shame, picking up guilt, picking up rules that aren't really rules doesn't really serve us. So there's no real wrong way to be spiritual. That's kind of what I'm getting at. And that's part of that new earth vibration that I know I want to bring in. The only thing that we want to be mindful about that I can think of, or at least it's just like, or how do I say this? We're definitely here to have this earth experience, right? Like, we're here to have a human experience, and we all chose that, right? So that's why we're here. And sometimes when we do some of these other activities, which are really fun and enjoyable, we are disembodying a little bit. We're kind of going into our subconscious, or kind of exploring these other realms. Now, it's really exciting to revisit those other realms, like, because we forgot they were there. So like, it's really awesome to spend time doing that. But so I think the one thing is like, just being mindful about escapism, and just being kind of balanced about it, just using everything in balance, all of the tools in the tool belt, right? Sometimes it's really important to be present and grounded on earth, and just like move through the difficult moments and be with your difficult moments. Speaking of someone who just came out of a difficult moment, And also to be patient with your process. Like, everything is divinely guided. So what you need to receive will come when you need to receive it. I definitely was doing that seeking and yearning, like, how do I say, the loop? It was a loop, right? Where it's like, I want to learn this, I want to learn that, and it's fun to learn new stuff. That's definitely cool. And there's nothing wrong with learning new things, but it's that seeking loop, like, that we go into at some point, and we want to learn this, learn that. Or we start asking the questions like, what's my purpose? What am I doing here? How can I heal? How can I heal? How can I heal? And like, we want to heal. And I mean, in some ways, like, that hasn't entirely disappeared for me, but it's like, some of the healing is just being in the really difficult moments. So that's the only thing I can kind of like, that's been my biggest takeaway, I guess. Is like, there isn't really, I'm getting a little bit tired, for perfectly honest about it. Like, watching other people shame other people for their spirituality. I can't tell you how many people are like, well, if you're going through a really tough time right now, it's because you're not doing your work. No, like, 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 no, that's not really how that works. Like, everything is in divine timing. So I think some people are taking advantage, their higher selves, or their, in their soul plan, they're taking advantage of the energies that are coming in at certain times to move through certain densities and situations and whatever it is that they're trying to clear. So, because I know that's the one thing I kind of check myself. I've definitely gotten feedback a couple times, like, well, if you wouldn't be experiencing that if you do your work. Oh, honey, I do my work all the time. Like, so, like, like, that's not it. So the spiritual shaming, I think, is something that, if we can all let go of it, I mean, goodness, like, what amazing beings we all are. And everybody has what they need to share, and it will come in divine timing. So it's just about being open to experience and being open to what's coming in and receiving what you're able to receive. And the nice thing is, this is I think, like I said, like, people kind of shame it, like, oh, well, you didn't get it the first time around, so you have to repeat it. Well, you'll get to repeat it. That's okay. Like, if you didn't get it the first time around, it will come back and you can try again. Like, nothing. Is that really so bad? You know what I mean? Like, is that really such a bad thing? No. Like, so anyway, if you guys want to discuss, like, I'd be happy to talk more about it. But that was kind of like, that's been kind of what's been coming in. It's like, the opportunity is here, and we don't have to wait to start creating the new earth. Things will keep opening up. There are going to be challenges that come in along the way, for sure. We're not moving through an easy period, I don't think, but that's all the more reason that I think we can kind of, if we can keep perspective of what we want and where we want to go, if you will, like, where we want to be, we can kind of move through that. But I will say, this has been, I almost even feel like I've got someone talking in my ear, like, you are here to experience those difficult moments too. So we just have to be present and allow them to move through with us. And then just using those difficult moments as inspiration is how I kind of look at it. So, Camille, you had your hand up.
Yes. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I sent you an email last week,
Yes.
Larissa, all the crap I've been going through. 3 days after we received that meditation, I got it like a head cold, like you did. Okay.
Right.
And of course, it went right into my lungs because I already have a pre-existing condition of asthma and COPD, even though I've never smoked a day in my life. And then, of course, the medicine I was taking did a number on my digestive system. And after about 6 days, I felt better. Within Sunday, the 18th, I started with a fever. And by Monday, I had the stomach flu. And ladies, I am telling you, I have not had the stomach flu in over 2 years. I thought I was dying. Okay. I thought, I didn't even go to the emergency room because I was severely dehydrated, because I was more afraid of catching COVID, because there's an uptick in COVID in here in my county, than I was about being dehydrated. But thankfully, my daughter, who's just, she's just phenomenal, even with her her disabilities and that she couldn't do enough for me. But as I'm laying there shivering with fever, covered in blankets, and it's like 90 degrees outside, and I'm, covered up in blankets, I'm thinking to myself, what in blazes is going on? This is 2 weeks straight. Of course, I didn't use the word blazes. I thought of another beautiful 4-letter word. And this is the message I got. And then it was like, how somebody pours a bucket of cold water over you. They said, and I had to write it down. It says, sometimes the body has to be cleansed of negative energies and entities so that the spirit, in other words, spirit with a capital S, can do the healing work. And I'm like, yeah, there went the bucket of water, like, duh, but I swear it was like, can you please just stop? I can't take it anymore. The body aches, I think, were the worst of it all, but it was, and then 5 days, I did not eat for 5 days. And then finally by Friday, the 23rd, I was like, well, finally, I could eat something. But when they said that, it was like a cold bucket of cold water went over me. And it was, one of those aha moments, like you've mentioned so many times.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. And I feel like the last couple times I've gotten sick have been really that's the thing too. I think I even had some shame around the fact that I got sick, because I feel like there's a thing too in the spiritual community that you're not supposed to get sick. It's supposed to be so enlightened or something that you're not supposed to get sick. But I think you're right. You're clearing out the system. I can always feel these things running through my meridians and stuff. And I always am finding that I'm having big transformations lately when it does occur. So it's interesting. I know a lot of this stuff, like we have some like deeply rooted beliefs in the spiritual community. So my even saying that may not even resonate for some right now. And I understand that because there's a lot of beliefs really deeply embedded in our community. So that I'm questioning all of them at this point. I'm like, actually, I think we're all just pretty cool how we are. We just have to kind of work on some of our limiting beliefs. That's really what it comes down to, is where have we limited ourselves and where can we be limitless, So that's kind of, yeah. And it's like I said, even just this idea that, I need to meditate every day in order to be a good spiritual person. Definitely, I'll just say for my own sake, I definitely have felt myself move through a lot of progression, and I didn't need to meditate every day. It's just that keeping openness, keeping in touch, listening to the self, using your inner guidance system, paying attention to the energies in your body, that kind of stuff is all you need. Just really using, I think I was saying that, using all the tools in your toolkit, using the body, using the energy bodies, using that guidance, that intuition that some of us have. We all have intuition. It's just how yours shows up and how much you're paying attention to it, right?
As bad as I was feeling, I was working Reiki on my abdomen and everything. And I have to say, I have stage 1 COPD, even though I've never smoked a day in my life. It was due to exposure of secondhand smoke because my mother and my brother were chimneys. And I also have fibromyalgia. And I have to say, anybody who comes to you or anybody else and says, oh, that's just a bunch of new age foo-foo of Reiki. I tell them, look, I have COPD and I have fibromyalgia. And I do not take any of all those medications as they prescribe for it because I work Reiki on myself. So anybody who says, well, that don't work, that's nothing but a bunch of mental, it was Dr. Phil said something about this. I just happened to catch a clip on it. He was like, it's a bunch of foo-foo stuff. It's not real. It's just mental, that, if you feel, oh, you're getting healed. Well, of course, in your mind, you're getting healed. Well, in your mind, since you're getting healed, you're going to start feeling better. And I don't believe that. I believe that it really does work. And I'm a perfect example of that. So anybody who comes to you and says, that's not real, that doesn't work at all. It's real. It works. And you're welcome to use my case as an example.
I think what's really cool actually is that it all works together. So you do sometimes need the brain to be on the same page. Sometimes it seems to work else, like it seems to work for some folks occasionally when it seems like when they need an experience, even if their brain's not 100% in line with it, they'll receive it too, which is really great. But it kind of comes back to that whole thing with the body, mind, and spirit coming together. And I think part of that is because like kind of coming back to what I was talking about too, about creating this 5D earth, we're the creators of our own experience. So we don't have 100% control, it seems, because of the divine influences that are out there. And then also the collective influence. So we don't have 100% control over everything, which is good. And that's part of what we're trying to release, right? Is control. But, at the same time, I have a really good example of this. Like, we create our own reality. So like what we surround ourselves with, what we think about, what we involve ourselves in, that becomes our reality. And so, for example, I'm kind of and because everybody's reality is different, I have no judgment over anybody's personal choices, right? So but for myself, I feel like getting vaccinated is not really appropriate. And I've been kind of working on that, and I'm involved in community where that's generally the feeling. But there are people in my family and stuff like that who have gotten vaccinated. So I'm around both types of people. And I read an email that a school put out to their students about getting vaccinated, and the positivity in the language around getting vaccinated and how wonderful it is to get vaccinated. I was like, I just read it and I was like, wow, they're living in a completely different world than I am. Like, it's not, I'm not saying they're wrong or anything. In fact, that actually is, to me, cements that reality, like the fact that that person's reality is that, and my reality is very different. Like, it's like, oh, like, I don't think any of those things, like, and they think those things. And so we're just having a completely different experience. And I think it's interesting too, because I think that when we're doing a lot of the spiritual work and stuff like that, we kind of want to have these like really deep or profound, I want to say like etheric experiences or like astral experiences where we kind of transform or go to another place. But the truth is, it's all right in front of us. Like, like the fact that people are living in their own little holographic universes, like their own little worlds. We've been talking about that for a long time as people, because it's true. Like, and it's very visible. Like, like people's little worlds are very different from one another sometimes, even though we have a lot of collective experiences. And it's just interesting to see, like, how that's kind of what I was getting back to, is like creating a new earth is about creating that vision around you with your own intentions, and maybe the intentions of some like-minded people in your circles, and expanding those circles and growing. That's all part of it. And that's how we just make the world and the experience that we want to live in, because it's right there. We just have to do it. So there is some, I mean, I'm hopeful that we can come back into a more harmonious consciousness, like, so that we're all kind of at least not tolerant, but like accepting of one another and allowing one another. Because to me, that's what comes back to that control thing, right? Like, so much of this is about, and I don't even mean like wanting to control people like in a dark way per se, but even just not being able to understand everybody's individual sovereignty and understand divine plan and all of that. So like there's no point in trying to control another person's health or another person's mindset or anything, because they're having their own experience. Oh yeah, that was something that kind of came up earlier for me before, as I was thinking about things I wanted to touch on. And it kind of comes back to this, the strictness of some of the spiritual beliefs and stuff like that, and kind of the shaming about who's doing what and how far along they are. And I know you guys are a pretty high vibe group, if you will, like, like a pretty open and understanding group for sure. But just this idea that it's our job to, like, some folks believe it's our job to help other people wake up. That is true, but not random people that you might bump into on Facebook. It's not those people. It's not your job to wake up everybody. You have specific soul contracts that are already kind of pre-negotiated. Those people will come into your field and you'll be able to influence them. And you may not even know, and influence them in a really positive, gentle way for the most part, right? Like, not like, persuade and manipulate them into believing what you believe, but just kind of that, that exchange of energy and frequency that kind of helps someone go, oh, and helps the light bulb come on, or that catalytic moment, So that's kind of more what I'm referring to. But I'm trying to think, there's something else with that. Yeah, because I think there's a lot of judgment that comes up over people who aren't awake yet, or people who are kind of saying they're awake, but maybe you're perceiving them as not being as awake as you would hope they were. And that's a control thing. We just have to let that go and understand that they're each on their own path, and they'll either catch up in their own timing, and that's wonderful, or they're not supposed to, and don't worry about it. Like, that's like, because you're just kind of bringing in density into your own field and judgment and all of that kind of stuff by worrying about what other people are doing. And it's just not they have their own divine plan. So we don't have to, like, check, taken care of. Like, so that's, that's another piece that I kind of I see come up here and there, where it's like, oh, like, people kind of worrying about what other people are doing. That is an interesting thing. Like, it kind of, that theme has been coming up a bit lately. There was even something I shared on my personal Facebook page about the dense energies that were coming in. And I personally liked the meme that someone had wrote, because I thought it was a representation of the dense energies that we'd be experiencing. And the person had written, like, get your extra groceries in case there's a lockdown, kind of a thing. Like, like, you may need extra groceries. And now, granted, Australia did end up having some more lockdowns. We haven't had any yet. I hope we don't. But and so that did, those folks would have benefited, hopefully, by having a little bit of extra groceries around. But people a couple of people reached out to me. They're like, that's so fear mongering. You shouldn't post that stuff. People are going to worry. Whoa, you're trying to worry about fictional people that you don't know who they are having a fear reaction. Like, that's how sometimes how control shows up, which is really interesting. And so, meanwhile, if somebody does see a post or something where they are triggered into a fear reaction, that's their reaction to work through. It's not really up to us to necessarily take that away. And I'm not saying you have to be controversial all the time and push on people all the time. Do what works for you. But if the message resonates for you and you want to share it, it's not your responsibility to control everybody's reactions, right? Like, that's part of it. And it was just kind of interesting to see people having fear that other people were going to have fear. So I thought that was an interesting, like, and they're telling me, you can't post that because I'm afraid other people are going to have fear. So it's kind of, we really can't control any of that. So it's just like, just was an interesting thing. Does anybody else have any other, like, comments or thoughts? And I'd love to talk about what you've been experiencing as with all this energy coming in. If anybody's got anything they kind of feel like is coming up, like, I'd love to talk more about it. Nobody? Julie.
Hi, I'll just
Hi.
share quick that I have noticed, like, the past 3 or 4 days, I am just extremely, like, low energy. I just feel extreme, like, just, and I feel like it's probably because I'm releasing a lot of things and, like, just shifting, but I've been really struggling with my energy. And, like, I I was suffering from migraines for about 20 some years. And over the past 2 months, I was doing really well. I was under the care, I am under the care of a chiropractor, and I've been doing my Reiki and everything. And I had gone a full 2 months, and last week out of nowhere, it just bam hit me. And I was like, oh, but I feel like it's all this energy shift and everything. So I've been
Oh
just
yeah.
very patient with myself, because it drives me crazy when I'm so low energy.
Mm-hmm. No, I
So I'm
totally
just
can
trying,
understand. Yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of what I've been experiencing, is just like that low vibe, like just laying low and trying to really be patient with myself. And I
Yeah.
have had a lot coming in, like just to like start preparing for the future. So I
Mhm.
think, and it's like a beautiful thing. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
Do you mind sharing like what kind of stuff you're feeling like you need to prepare for, or you're not ready yet? It's okay if you're not ready.
No, I don't mind sharing. I just it's kind of a crazy thing.
Sure. No, crazy's
So
great.
so my husband and I have been married for almost 5 years, and we started trying to have kids when we got married, but we haven't been successful, which that was another thing that the chiropractor kind of pointed out to me, is like my alignment and stuff. But anyway, 2 years ago, when I went to my Reiki master retreat, during one of the experiences, I got a very clear vision that I would have 3 babies. And I was like, oh, this, okay, I'll have 3 kids at some point. But it was like all at once. And then this summer, and then last weekend, it was like, you need to prepare for those 3 babies at once. And I was like, oh, holy crap.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like trying to process all of that, because it's kind of crazy, but whatever is meant to happen.
Interesting. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing. I hope that kind of brings you what you are needing and wanting. That would be beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of emotion around it, but it's, I've always wanted 3 kids, so we'll see
Maybe
what
you'll get
happens.
them in one else.
I don't know, it's crazy, but I just feel like anything can happen, whatever's meant to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's something I kind of heard about a little, and I haven't been practicing this, but like there's more to our not control, but influence over our fertility than we've been taught that we have. I should put it that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've learned a lot throughout this process about fertility, and just like not just because I did try like some fertility medications at one point, but right away I knew like that wasn't for me. It just didn't feel right. So I've just been doing a lot more like work on myself, and I've learned a lot about influencing that, and just the spiritual aspect of it. So I do think part of it was my journey to get there, is like it's opened up so much for me. So I do think that was a huge part of it.
That's cool. That's really cool. I do feel like there's like a womb preparation thing for you. Like
it's crazy.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, and the chiropractor I'm working with, I started with him in May, and he was like, give it about 4 to 6 months. And, I keep getting like, you need to prepare. It's coming soon. I'm like, oh, okay.
Cool. Well, keep us posted.
Yeah, I will. So that's my craziness that's going on.
Awesome. No, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Michelle, you have your hand up?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to share. Well, first of all, Julie, thank you for sharing. I'm really excited for you. I've been experiencing massive releases lately. I mean, I'm having so many things change, and they're like huge changes, like internally and externally. Like I just walked away from my job on Friday just because for me personally, it was a healthy thing for me to do. It was an unhealthy situation, and I just needed to get away from all of that.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm terrified. I mean, really, the only reason why I didn't walk away sooner is out of fear. And I'm like, I have nothing to be afraid of because the universe is going to take care of me. And as soon as I release this, I know bigger and better is just going to like fly right at me, but I have to get away from this because
Yeah.
it's holding me back. So I did that. I have like just so many things are just getting flushed away, and it's awesome. And I love it. And I just keep getting these messages that just relax right now and heal because huge things are going to happen. I'm not
Yay.
exactly sure what that means, but I'm really excited for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How beautiful. You have such a bright personality too. Like it was such a pleasure to connect with you the other day. So
Yeah. Likewise. Thank you.
yeah.
Hey, Julie. Oh, you can't hear me. I didn't know if you guys could hear me. I didn't know how to raise my hand on my
Oh.
phone. Just one of the things that I've noticed after doing a couple of astrological charts for people is that babies are generally born around the same time as your fourth house. Because my husband's ascendant is Aries and my fourth is Aries, and both of my kids are Arieses. They were both born in April. So it might be something to maybe think of whenever you have your 3 babies. Like try, like put your toes up in the air 10 months prior. I just thought I'd share that. But some of the things that I've been dealing with is mainly there's a lot of like really harsh karma that has been kind of going on with my stepson. He's we're not talking right now because he's a very he just brings a lot of toxicity. He like threatened to burn our house down. So yeah, that's something I have to kind of decide to kind of wait around until he's mature, or at least gotten where he needs to be, in order for us to really have a relationship again. So I'm really kind of hurt about that, but at the same time, I know that he has to go through his own learning experience. Speaking of control, he's very controlling. He'll yell in people's faces if he gets mad at them. He was trying to control how we raised my son on grounding him on Mother's Day. So we haven't talked since then. So it's kind of one of those things that I need to actually release, and maybe even get the collective to help me release. If you guys could, I don't know, maybe think of me and help me, because I'm still kind of like, yes, I will kind of sit there and think about, okay, how do I heal from this? How do I feel about this? How is it that I am, what life lesson am I learning? While at the same time, I know that karma is hitting him right now because him and his wife both don't have jobs. They just got into a wreck and they don't have a car in order to make money. They're no longer living in the same place that they've been at because of his temper, things like that. Like some of the things that he's creating for himself are in essence coming back on him. So, but that's not anything I have any control over. It's just I have to be able to control how I feel about the situation. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. It's hard not to be angry about that, if that makes sense, because he, I just get to the point where I'm like, how is it that you can tell me how to raise my own kid type of thing? So I'm trying to kind of get past that by continuing to love him from afar and realizing that Source is doing what Source is doing in order to try and teach him. But I don't know how long that's going to take. And I have a grandbaby to worry about. And of course, I only really just think about her and her well-being.
Okay.
Yes, I'm on a meeting. I'm on a meeting.
Oh,
I'm talking. Sorry, that was my husband. Doesn't he have a lovely radio voice? I love his voice. We just got back from Danville. So in time, but I guess that's just what I wanted to share. I don't know if you guys have any advice for me.
No, definitely. Thank you for sharing. I've been hearing a little bit that relationships are going to be a huge focus in the next month or so, that there'll be a lot of, focus on relationships, like, perhaps I feel like dynamics changing a little bit, and just really paying attention to how you're showing up in the relationship, if that makes sense. And it's funny that you mentioned this, because, I actually got into a thing with my mom the other day, and I had kind of been hearing like, I gotta hold neutral, and then she caught me off guard with something, and I did not hold neutral. I was like, get me off this phone call. Goodbye. I really, go ahead.
And people say, that they don't have any control over how you feel, but some people, like my stepson, know to try to manipulate you.
Right.
And if you don't allow them to control you, then it makes them that much more angry at you.
Right.
Like if they're narcissistic, like my stepson, which I'm an empath. So me and him have kind of butt heads, like pretty much our whole like relationship, because he wanted to be able to do whatever he wanted to do. And we're like, no, you just can't go and, drink while you're 16 years old and be put in the hospital, for example.
Right.
Because that happened. Like you can't do those things because we care about you, but he never thought of it that way. So, and now that he's like 21, he can do quote unquote whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, I'm still like learning this one, like myself. Like I said, I got caught off guard and got triggered, and I was not really happy with how I, behaved honestly in that conversation. Nothing horrendous, but just like she hit my buttons, and I went, I don't want to talk about this. Goodbye. And I know sometimes in some situations, and that's something I got to come back to another part of this, but like sometimes there is, when you just hold space for the other person to kind of just run their little program that they're running, like if they're doing a manipulation or something, and you just go, okay, and you don't really say anything, sometimes they run out of steam because you're not reacting, right? Like, so they feed off the energy of reacting. Now, how easy is that to do? I like I said, I myself got pulled into something the other day. So I allowed myself to get pulled into something. So I'm certainly still practicing and learning. I will say, and there are situations where I see your hand too, Michelle. There are situations where people are really not, they're really abusive with us, and it makes sense, I think, to take space and separate a bit. But something I've been having come into my awareness a lot lately is also just deepening our understanding of the unity consciousness. So I don't think this is your situation, given like how unhealthy the dynamic sounds. And I think you're kind of making the right call by giving it space. But
thank you. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't doing anything that was like.
I mean, it sounds like it kind of needs to keep working itself out. And if you can do your best to stay in a loving vibration, even if it's not, even if you're not in contact Like, I think that would, you know, and if you need to release the anger, be with the anger, right? If you need to, if you have sadness and worry, allow that, feel it, let it, you know, let it work through you. Cause like, if you deny it, that's not really going to serve you, right? Like,
I'm going to tell Source to use it in whatever way karma sees fit.
okay. I don't know what that means.
Well, I mean, if he's making choices that are going to cause him his own sort of learning life lesson, then that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I mean, I think that'll happen regardless, right? Like, 'cause that's his
right.
path. But I mean, I think, I mean, okay. So like the way I'm programmed or coded or whatever, my intention is to have a loving awareness.
Right.
So that would be that's always going to be my standpoint. And so like, and that said, like what comes in for me a lot is like not pushing separation. I think there's a lot of stuff, even in the spiritual community right now. It's like, well, if somebody crosses you, you cut them off. And that's not really living in love and compassion either.
Right.
But there are situations where things are toxic or really unhealthy to continue the dynamic. And then that said too, like I've had Source or, you know, I hire self or something, take people out of my life for me because I wasn't going to do it. So, so I don't want to hold too much judgment around it. This is still something, I think that's what I'm trying to say, is this is something I'm still exploring for myself and trying to understand myself. Like, what is that balance? Because it's like, you know, sometimes too, like people, I had a couple of my own karmic relationships kind of hit a point where I was like, oh, we've been doing this karmic loop thing for a while. Okay. Like, you know, like, and both people, we have stopped talking, but it's not, I don't know. Like, I kind of like it that way for now, but I haven't intentionally said I'm not going to talk to them anymore. But I'm just like, oh, but I don't want to do that dynamic anymore. I'm done with that. So I don't know, but it does, I mean, if I were you, I would kind of allow those emotions, and for yourself, I wouldn't turn them on him. Like, I wouldn't call him up to bitch him out. Like,
No,
you know?
I'm not talking to him right
Yeah,
now.
I know.
'Cause, I mean, it's just not healthy. There isn't like anything productive that comes out of a conversation with him anyway.
Right. I get that.
So there's no point.
Right. Michelle has her hand up, and I'm assuming she's got something to say about it.
Yeah, I do. I just want to share, April. I completely can sympathize with what you're going through. My son, he no longer lives in the home. He's, you know, big boy now.
Yeah.
But
So
both my son and my daughter became very rebellious, and it was quite awful going through it. And sometimes it's exceptionally hard to deal with when you're an empath, when you feel everything everyone else is feeling, and it's hard to block that off. So I know for me, even being on the opposite side of the house, I still couldn't get away from the negativity and the toxicity, and it was just very difficult. But you also have to set really healthy boundaries, and you have to, and that doesn't mean that you stop loving your children or you cut them off, but you give them the option to make the choice. You know, like with my son, he was doing very unhealthy things that were dangerous, not only for himself, but for everyone else. And it was like, okay, look, this is not acceptable and not allowed in our home. And you're either going to respect our home when you're here and respect everyone in this house when you're here, or you just don't be here. Because he had just recently decided that he was going to try to live with his father at the time. So I was able to give that option. So I didn't talk to my son for a year. He refused to talk to me for a year. I had to do tough love on him. But you know what? We have a great relationship now. And your son's only 21. And from my experience with myself and with other people, hearing other people's stories, they usually don't come around until like 24, 25. They start actually really growing up and realizing, wow, I've been a jerk. I mean, this past year, my son's going to be 25 this year. And this past year, it's just been, he's just let all of this stuff out to me over the past year. And he's apologized to me so many times, you know, because he realizes he's finally becoming mature and realizing, wow, everybody had my best interest at heart and I was just being rebellious and hateful. And the same thing with my daughter. So you just got to give it time, and just sometimes you have to love people from afar and give them the opportunity to make the choices that they're going to make. Even if you don't agree with them or like them, you don't have to, but just keep loving them and they will eventually come around. They eventually do. And you can't worry about the time frame on it.
That is very helpful. Thank you so much. I appreciate your insight. Anybody else want to help? Speak up.
Camille's got her hand up.
April, I can totally relate. My brother is the only brother in our family, and he lives only 2.5 hours away from me. And I have not seen him in 8 years because he has a bitch from hell as a wife. She has alienated him from everybody. I mean, to the extent that when our sister died in December from COVID related, he didn't even come to the funeral because she didn't want him to come, you know? And I agree with what Michelle just said. I have learned to love him from afar. I call him for Father's Day. I call him for Christmas. I call him for New Year's. I call him for Thanksgiving. I call him for Three Kings. I call him for his birthday. Our birthdays are only 3 days apart. His was July 26th. Mine was July 29th. And I'm 3 years older than him. He's not no spring chicken. He has no damn excuse to say that it's, oh, I'm young and I don't know what to do. You know, your son is learning to become one of his own. But my brother does not have an excuse except that he has a bitch of a wife from hell. I mean, this woman is horrible. I'm telling you, she is horrible. And I'm glad she didn't come to the funeral because she would have made a scene. But still, you know, you want that love and support. But I had to love and support him from afar, just like Michelle just said. You just have to love and support them from afar and then let them come into their own. So that, and just pray and send them Reiki and positive energy, so, you know, letting them know that you love them, because even though in their physical body and in their mind, they may think you don't love them, their higher self and their higher, and their angels and guides and everything that surrounds them lets them know some one way or another that you're there for them, even though you don't talk to him every day, even though you don't see him every day. At some point, he knows deep down inside how much you truly love him. And like, and Michelle said, they will eventually come, and because he will eventually come around. And I will send him Reiki and love and healing and light, so that, and to you as well, so that it'll happen soon. Because I know it has to be sad for you to not be able to see your son and talk to him. Because I know how hard it is for me not to see and talk to my brother. So that I'll send as much Reiki and loving and light to, so that everything will happen soon and fall into place for you.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And it's very welcome. I actually didn't even find this out until after Mother's Day and everything, but he did actually reach out to his real mom. And I almost wonder if it isn't some sort of projection, because his real mom now has custody of the son that she lost when he was 16 months old because he was dropped on his head in the shower. I know I'm getting a little bit too much TMI here, but yeah, it'll all kind of explain itself. She was having him do drugs, and Donovan, my stepson, reached out to her and told her, how dare you do that, blah, blah, blah. So in essence, he was trying to control her realized he couldn't do that. She lives in California. So in essence, he was trying to control me by not grounding my son. So, I mean, it's all like, how can he have some kind of control over someone else when he can't have control over his own life right now?
Well, and that's why they try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that whatever actually happened on Mother's Day, now that I know all that information, I feel like it was just a big misunderstanding.
Mm. So
I just hope that by the time he turns age 25, he'll actually have the brain of an adult. So where he can actually like
I wouldn't go that
understand
far, but
stuff.
it'll be better.
Jan, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did. Can you hear me this time?
Yay, yes.
Hey. Okay, just as a sidebar, I've been studying grief Reiki,
Oh.
which has been really interesting. And one of the aspects of it is that people have physical behaviors and physical manifestations based on pain. And so you don't have to have a death in the family. You can just have a change in your life, and that will cause you some kind of pain. Sometimes you're not even aware of it, but it creates a grief syndrome inside your body, and your behavior and your spirit and your energy all kind of goes south. And if you can find a Reiki master or someone who understands grief Reiki is really able to help. I've been working with a lady here locally that she doesn't understand. She has grief because she's not able to physically do things that she could when she was 40. But her physical reactions, her illnesses, her whole self is responding to the Reiki that I've been giving her, simply because I'm aware that it's a grief driven syndrome that she's got. And I know that my kids, who are now in their mid and late 30s, dealt with the same things, and I was just not aware of how to help them. But it was because of a pain that motivated them to do things and say things that they really didn't mean to. It's just that that's what happened.
Interesting. Yeah, that does make sense though. Julie.
Jan, thank you for sharing that. I would love to learn more about that grief Reiki. That sounds so interesting, and I can relate it even to my own personal life. So that is like, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm
Well-
hoping you'll share more with us.
Yeah.
It's on Udemy. You just need to look it up, and it's right there.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody want to do a little healing? Okay. All right. I'm trying to think of like what would be the best way to do this, but let's see. Give me one moment. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So I'm getting something that I've never done before. So like, are we up for an adventure? Okay. So what I'm just going to explain really quickly what I'm receiving just in the moment, and we'll see where it takes us. But I am feeling like, actually, it makes sense if this is coming up now, because I was thinking about this earlier, or I was receiving something about this this morning and I forgot about it. Mother Earth is going through, or Gaia Sophia, she's going through a lot of shifting and changing herself right now, and that's part of what we're feeling and experiencing. And so I'm kind of feeling like so normally when I do a healing, I kind of work top down, and I'm actually feeling like we got to start bottom up. So that's what we're gonna do. And I feel like she's shifting a lot. I feel like her plates are like, and it's like, instead of being kind of static. So it feels really tumultuous. So there's something with that. So a few of you have experienced me doing a group meditation before. I kind of pop in and out, and I will talk very casually. So I hope that works for everybody. And we'll just take it from there and see how this goes. So, all right, if you guys want to start by finding a comfortable position, and if it feels right to close your eyes, that's great. Now just take some deep breaths in and out and in and out and in and out. Okay. And if you want to start visualizing along with me, I am seeing a white light, and it has like a blue hue, and it's coming down through your crown chakra. It's moving through the crown. Oh, and it's clearing quite a bit of density around the crown. I can see it. It's kind of like almost like parting waves there. So I'm just going to help expand that. So it's moving through the crown, then down through the third eye, through the throat, through the heart, through the solar plexus, through the sacral, through the root. And then we're going to bring that down. Okay. And we're going to bring that through the Earth Star chakra, which is located in between your feet. Okay. Sorry. So I'm feeling Mother Earth's energy, and she is also releasing a lot of density. And I'm hearing a lot of you, several of you on the call have been feeling this pretty deeply. And that's actually a couple of you are almost releasing some of her density as a conduit, interestingly. Okay. And I apologize. I'm just kind of feeling into this energy and seeing what we need to do or what feels right. I don't know if any of you can feel. So it's almost like, the way I'm seeing it is like, it's almost like ankles are in mud, and there's just like, it's just this muddy earth, and there's a lot of, I want to call it rips and tears, but it's almost like plates of mud. Like, I don't know if you ever see mud dry, all cracked, and then they're rupturing and pushing upward up against each other. And I can kind of see her releasing. Okay. Okay, so I'm receiving this orange gold light that's coming up through Mother Earth. And we are going to push that up through our chakra system. And we're going to bring with it any of our anger, shame, guilt, all of that. We can push that up through our chakra system, because that's what she's releasing too. Well, not so much the shame, but there's some anger that she's pushing through. So that's coming up through the Earth Star chakra, through the root, through the sacral, through the solar plexus, through the heart, through the throat, Oh, through the third eye and through the crown. Okay, we're going to send that up to source to be transmuted. Do you guys feel that? That's like, that feels really intense. Okay. Oh, okay. So what I'm also seeing is an expanded connection to Mother Earth. So oftentimes I see like a singular cord, and I'm just trying to see. Most of you have this cord where you're already connected from the root through the Earth star and you're anchored into Mother Earth's core. What I'm seeing is, oh, that makes sense. Okay. What I'm seeing is, it's almost like a spider web coming off of the root chakra down. It's almost making a triangle shape, and that's anchoring in through your energy field into Mother Earth as well. I'm asking what that is about, and I'm hearing it has something to do with carrying one moment. I'm hearing carrying her vibration closer to your heart, but it has to do a little bit more with the structure of the energy field and how that works together. Okay. And now I'm feeling like we're grounding some of our energy into Mother Earth. And we're being asked at this time to stay present. I'm hearing she knows the way to move through all of this. Oh. In her own way, she's birthing. She's birthing a new self, if that makes sense. So it's that transformation. We go through transformations of our own spiritually, and that's what she's kind of going through. She's kind of giving way and birthing and shedding her old skin, if that makes sense. Like she's shedding a lot of density and coming into her own new being, which is just this beautiful glowing ball of light is what I'm seeing. Okay. I feel like there is some light coming in once again through the crown it's coming in from source, and it's actually looks like a green healing light. And that's going to come in down through your crown, through your third eye, through the throat. Oh, big clearing in the throat. through your heart, through the solar plexus, through the sacral, through the root. And we're going to just bring that into the Earth Star chakra and ground that into Mother Earth. Okay. Okay. What I'm hearing is that as she releases these densities, so shall you see your own release and let go, let go, let go. And what's coming up, I'm seeing like eons and lifetimes of strife, is what I'm hearing. Strife, conflict, war. Just that we've had a different experiences, both individually and collectively through the ages. And what it feels like is that she's been carrying some of that energetic, what's the word I'm looking for? Energetic debris in her field from all that conflict. So that's part of what we're releasing as well. And we're bearing witness to her releasing it. I'm feeling like for some of you, it may resonate at this time to call in your ancestors. I'm hearing very clearly that some of you may want to call in your ancestors, and that's open for anyone who feels like that feels right for them. And surround yourself with your ancestors because they have a special healing to offer you. We'll just take a moment. Just pay attention to what you may be able to see or feel, where you're feeling it in your body. I'm hearing there is a theme of empowerment. Okay. Okay. I just want to share the reminder that you're being divinely guided and that you are loved and supported. And whatever you need, just ask, is what it sounds like. It's like whatever you need, just ask to be able to receive. And it feels like there's just a reminder that you're not alone on this journey. Okay. Okay. And I'm feeling like we're able to complete just setting the intention that any remaining energy that needs to be released can be released. Send it up to source. Oh, that feels very nice. All right. Then when you're ready, you just start coming back into your awareness of what the room around you, and move your fingers, move your toes, whatever works for you. And then, of course, if there's anything anybody wants to share, I love sharing.
That was absolutely amazing.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I felt that through my whole being. I was a blubbering mess for a while.
What kind of got you feeling messy?
The orange coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was, a lot. Yeah, very
Yeah.
thankful.
Yeah, there was a lot. It was a lot. It kind of, I'm gonna be honest, it made me nervous to even I'm supposed to put that through. Okay. Like,
No,
okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
And then when you suggested that we call in anyone,
Yeah.
I had this very interesting thing happen. A woman came to me and she was a tribal woman. I've never seen anything like it. And she was kind of like coming in and out and in and out. And she was gifting me things.
Oh, that's amazing.
And yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
like, wow, this was so wonderful. And I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I was very clear. They're like, the ancestors need to come in now. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I'm just beyond grateful. I don't even know how to express
Oh, good.
right now.
As soon as you said we're going to Mother Earth, I took you guys outside. So I was grounding that whole time. And that's
Oh,
why you heard my
wonderful.
dog barking. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay.
It's kind of crazy that she said what she said about the tribal lady, because I have seen that lady before and she's come to me. She is like one of my ancestors. I don't know how, but I feel very connected to her. She's like this very old shamanic woman. It's like she's got very dark, very gray, long, kind of wavy hair.
Yes.
And she's dressed up in native attire, like it's like a gray. I feel like it's made out of like deer skin gray, like a very rare, like white or gray deer that was, that they died or
It's
whatever.
not the white buffalo woman, is it?
It might be.
Okay.
It might be. I don't know, but I feel very connected to her. And she's, to me, when she comes to me, she's like in this, it's like dusk and there are all these trees around and we're like in front of like this waterfall, like in the background. And we're on just the grass and it's not like sunlight out, it's like dusk, almost like the moon is shining or something. And she just touched me, like she touched me in the solar plex and in the heart, but the heart, it like felt like it was expanding out to my shoulders when she touched there. And when she touched the solar plex chakra, I felt that come from the middle on out to the sides of my body, of my ribs. And I don't know, I felt when you were talking about it being intense, the orange stuff being intense, I got a picture, and I'm not trying to sound scary or anything, but I literally got a picture of like the lava exploding up out of the earth, like a volcano.
Yeah, that's what it kind of was. I mean, like we pictured it as light, but it was like it was that kind of material, yeah, in a sense.
Yeah, like that's literally what I saw, was a volcano exploding. Whenever you said, okay, orange light coming up, I'm like, a picture of a volcano exploding. So I don't know if it's literal or analogous. I hope it's analogous. But if it's not, I mean,
I do think it's analogous. There, I mean, there may be some physical expressions coming. I mean, and we're kind of seeing some of that happening now. She's doing a big cleansing through the you know, some of the forest fires and stuff like that. There's some stuff happening, but I mean, that's I think for me what was really important in the message is like, she knows the way, so don't worry. Like that's what it felt like for me. But Camille, you had your hand up too.
Well, I thought it was amazing because when you said white buffalo calf woman, there have recently been quite a rash of white buffalo calves being born.
Oh,
of
cool.
not of a white buffalo female and no, we're talking two brown buffalo mating, and she's given birth to a white and a Native American. That is a good omen. There's also the good omen of, there's also been a rash of white deer, white stag, which is also a representative of Mother Earth, you know, the white stag. So, but what I got when y'all said the woman, the shaman, what came to my mind and I heard is that we all descend from her, from some form or another, thousands and thousands of years back. We all descend from her, that she is our common ancestor.
I believe that absolutely, because I feel like she is like literally like my family. Like I feel like literally like I'm a part of her. And even
I'm getting goosebumps.
And even though like my dad used to tell me that we were descended from Chief Black Hawk or whatever it is, there's no proof of that or whatever the case is, but I always feel innately like that collectivism of the Native American culture.
It's like with me, it's like I feel as though certain things that I've never read about, heard about, talked about before will just come to me, and I'll look them up, and it'll be like, oh, it really is, you know. In other words, maybe a certain healing or something that I've seen or something that I've had in a dream, and I'll look it up, and I'll be like, oh my God, you know, it's sort of a confirmation. And I think that's what it is. She's confirming that we are all her daughters and sisters and brothers and children. And we are here to help not only those close to us, but anybody who needs our helping as healers.
Ellen.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible about that woman being a common ancestor between all of us. I know my mom got a DNA test a few years ago and it came up like 1% Native American. So yeah, during that portion when you invited us to call on our ancestors, I had never really had much interest in working with my ancestors, but I decided, what the heck, I'll try it. and I got some imagery that seemed to suggest it was like a tribal community that lived very much near the water, like a lot of their life was in the water.
Mm.
And I sort of got this sense that like they had passed on this swimming ability or something to me.
Cool.
What that means, because I don't really like swimming. I never swim.
That's so cool though.
So that's what I got.
Awesome.
Now you can release your inner mermaid.
Right. I feel like what was coming in for that too is like this, there's, I don't know, there's just so much resonance in the ocean for the whales and the dolphins and everything too. Like there's just, they have such an amazing energy. It just seems to permeate all bodies of water to me. But like, does anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, for some reason lately I've been obsessed with watching documentaries about the ocean.
Oh, cool.
So
Maybe you should
maybe
try
there's
swimming
something,
again.
maybe.
Oh, that's so cool. Anyone else? Yeah, Julie.
I'll just, that was definitely super powerful. And I do work a lot with my ancestors, and I've, in my past lives, I've seen shamans and a lot of those types of ancestral patterns. So that was, so that the connection is definitely there. I can feel, and like I could right away, like all my ancestors just came right in and they were like right there to help. So it was really cool. But like I could just literally feel that energy just like pushing up and down through my body. Like at one point I was like coughing because my throat was just like clearing so much. So that was
Oh, me
amazing.
too, right?
Thank you. Yeah. Definitely much needed. I'm very grateful to be part of this tonight. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys trying that out with me, because like even for that, like it's, you know, so much of the clearing that I do is like, you know, oh, we'll just push all this good energy through your system and clear out your system. And it felt like we were very much acting like a conduit for pushing out some of that energy from Mother Earth, which I'm like, oh, can we do that? Should we do that? I don't like, you know, like, so that's what I felt guided to, well, that's what I was seeing, right? So that was really interesting. So anything else? Awesome. Well, thank you, you guys. This was so lovely, and it was great to chat and catch up and kind of do this work together, the meditation together. So I really enjoyed it, and thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for, being here and all of us sharing this together. I love you all.
Yeah,
Aw,
thank you for sharing
yeah.
and being vulnerable and, you know, sharing what you're feeling and everything, because I know that's not always easy. So
Thank you for doing this. This was awesome.
oh, my
It was
pleasure.
great.
No, I'm so excited. We've got several more things scheduled and everything like that. So I'm just so excited to see what we have to share with one another. So thank you. All right. Well, everybody have a great night. Be well. Talk to
Bye,
you soon.
everyone.
Bye-bye.